If you are a parent, especially a Christian parent, I want to take a few minutes to try and explain to you why I think you should start playing tabletop role-playing games with your kids. I have 5 reasons. I'm going to go through them as quickly as I can. But I also want to explain to you what a tabletop role-playing game is in case you don't know, and I'm going to do that as quickly as possible. A tabletop role-playing game is a game where multiple people play a game story together. There are players, and then there is a dungeon master or game master. The game master sets up situations, and the players decide how to engage with those situations. It's a pretty simple exchange of information that's going back and forth. The game master is offering up, enemies or danger, and the players are trying to, interact with it in the best way that they can. One of the reasons why I think tabletop role-playing games are excellent for families to play together is it's a wonderful alternative to screen time. We know that our kids just get far too much time playing Roblox and Minecraft and all the games on the television and iPads, and it's hard to take those things away from them without setting up some sort of punishing system, going, okay, sorry, you only get 10 minutes today or an hour today, and what you end up usually engaging with is a kid who is disappointed and a parent who is trying to fight against the urge to just give the thing back, right? I don't know if you've been there before where you had a kid who was just spending far too much time on the screen devices, and you just had that nagging debacle back and forth between you and your kid. I think getting your kids interested in real games, either tabletop games or board games, is a great alternative to taking the screen time away. By introducing your kids into tabletop role-playing gameplay, you can offer them something that's actually more rewarding and interesting. And by measure of offering them something more interesting, you'll generally get a kid who wants to engage with the system perhaps as often as possible. Let me get to the second reason why I think these things are great to play with your family. Tabletop role-playing games are a perfect medium for asking people hard questions. And those hard questions can come in many different forms. It could be hard questions about morals, ethics, politics, religion. Many times in today's society, it's difficult to have an engaging conversation with someone about a difficult or possibly even contentious topic, and that can even delve into, or it can be possible that it's difficult to do even with your kids, right? Your kids are formulating their own ideas about what they think of things, and so sometimes it's difficult to posit an alternative way of thinking, even with kids as young as teenagers. Myself and my son have this problem on occasion. He's 14 now, and there are times where I offer him my thinking on something, and we start butting heads a bit. These tabletop role-playing games are a really good way to present a situation to your kids, to your family, where the players get to try and decide how to interact. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's say you have a character who's similar to the character of Wormwood from Lord of the Rings, right? Like that kind of slithering, evil, whispering in king's ears manipulator. You can set up a situation where there's a character like this Wormwood character. He's not really a violent character. He's not someone that maybe your players want to attack and fight, but you can present opportunity for your kids and your family to engage in a character like that and allow them to make moral, ethical, political choices in a game world setting that a lot of other board games don't really offer up the potential for. But in a tabletop role-playing game, because the game is largely narrative with a system of mechanics that is helping the narrative or the narration run forward, you end up having a lot more open-ended story discussion and a lot more open-ended exploration into solutions to problems. Many times in modern board games, there is a bit of a video gamification to the system. That can be very fun. I like some of the video game board games that exist, but when it comes to offering up these hard questions, it's not usually easy to wedge an answer in or a solution in with a board game. But in tabletop role-playing games, you do have that potential. So hard questions is is a great, or these tabletop role-playing games offer a great opportunity for hard questions to come up, sometimes even naturally, okay? Hard questions leads into a secondary idea, and that is a topic of morals, right? So our kids are either at school or hanging out with friends. They're spending a lot of time outside of the family doing things. And so it's not always easy to find a way to talk with kids about morality. Obviously, you can have family devotion time. You can have a time after church. You have plenty of opportunities through the week to talk with your kids. So I'm not saying that these tabletop role-playing games are like just an alternative to that. That's not the point. It's not always clear what you should talk to your kids about, because you don't really know where you and your kids might have a differing idea of morality. And let's say that there is someone in their life, a friend or a teacher or another family member, who has been introducing them to a different set of morality than what you perceive to be morality, right? Then these tabletop role-playing games give you the opportunity to present your kids with hard questions and allow you to have discussions afterwards based on the ideas of morality, right? So if you and your family are Christian and you believe that good and evil is an idea that exists outside of us, it's a concrete thing. It is truth built into the world. It's not something that is personal truth or formulated based on opinion. It is concrete. This is a great way to have discussions about theft and idolatry and sin in general. And in these tabletop role-playing games, the discussion of those things can flow naturally out of the course of the story. And I'll give a few examples of it a little more specifically at the end of the video when I actually talk about some of the games that I have on the table here. But let me keep going here. So, number 4, these games very easily can lead to a lot of adjacent hobbies. And I have some examples of that out here. So these are miniatures, many of which you can see are unpainted, and some of which you can see are painted. A lot of these things my wife and I, built or painted, but a lot of them my son and his friends have put together and painted as well. So because of our interest in playing these games and kind of creating these fantasies around the characters that we're building, there's like a natural inclination to want to tie those characters into the real world with anything possible, right? So if you're inclined to get your kids interested in like a hobby or a craft like painting or building, these tabletop role-playing games give a perfect opportunity to lead into that type of creative endeavors. There's also the potential for building terrain. You can see those are terrain pieces that are kind of cardboard in nature, but you can obviously get more complex with some of the plastic ones. This is the Wizard Sanctum house from Marvel that I put together and painted. So if you're interested in your kids finding outside like hobbies, like maybe crafting hobbies, helping them to find a way to connect to a fictional character in a tabletop role-playing game, and then help essentially build terrain or miniatures for the family game is another great way to get them off of the screen time. When we're all done with the video, I'll take a run upstairs and I'll let you see my son's room. He's built like a whole crafting station. But let me continue on for a moment. Let me get my card. The last one is a wide range of games, right? So everyone's probably heard of Dungeons and Dragons. When I grew up, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So of course I heard about the Satanic Panic, and that was something that was like, oh my goodness, if I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't want to belittle or I don't want to gaslight, right? And say, oh, that's crazy. How could you think that? Obviously, this tabletop role-playing game hobby is adjacent to some strange practices, whether it be occult practices or tarot cards. They're so adjacent, in fact, that a lot of these games come with tarot cards or have mechanics to implement that type of thing. So you do have to, as a parent, especially a Christian parent, be wise and adjudicating and discerning about the type of games you play with your kids. So if, for example, you don't want to play a game where there are I don't know, a specific type of monsters or demons or something like that in the game, then, avoid those games. It's not just Dungeons and Dragons. If you don't want to play a game that has spells and witchcraft in it, then don't play those games. And what I mean what I mean by that is there are so many different types of tabletop role-playing games. You can probably find one that is akin to the type of themes and ideas that your family would be interested in. And your kids would probably have a lot of fun. I'm going to go around the table real quick and explain some of the tabletop role-playing game systems. I haven't played all of these. I have a limited understanding of it since my channel and my experience in delving into tabletop role-playing games is fairly recent. I've just started learning about this. But here we have Pendragon. This is actually a set where the morality of the system is built in, right? Like good and bad choices are built into the system, and you're playing like a knight in the Arthurian legends. In the Pendragon system, you're actually playing like a lineage. So you'll play as a knight, and then when that knight dies, you'll play as that knight's son or daughter, and you'll go off on adventures and quests, and the choices that your character makes, good or bad in the world, will affect the outcome of the world, obviously, but then also affect the way that your character is seen, and it'll also affect whether your character can make good choices, because, the evil inside of them starts to consume them. Savage Worlds. This is a game system that doesn't have a specific setting. You can play, science fiction or fantasy or, undersea adventure. And there are a lot of systems like Savage Worlds that allow you to kind of play any type of fantasy setting or theme to the game. The Mouse Ritter game series. This is fantastic. If you're interested in playing like the American Tale, that type of adventure with your kids, or you want to just play something a little more simple like the Mouse Ritter Estate package, which has a whole bunch of different adventures built into the idea of mice trying to make their way into the cupboard inside the house. It's a very simple system that can be very easy to get kids into the tabletop role-playing game space of gaming by making you small little animals, right? And kids love imagining themselves as animals. It's kind of part of being a kid. So, and there's quite a few different games like Mouse Ritter, but Mouse Ritter is one of the ones that kind of, that I latched onto and really I like the idea of, because, it's very cute and adorable to have like your mouse have like a lollipop for a weapon, right? Anyways, Mouse Ritter is a fantastic system to get your family into tabletop role-playing games. There are simple systems like Old School Essentials that are going to give you easy to understand mechanics and fun magic and spell casting and all that type of thing. My family right now is actually playing an adventure called Dragonbane. The setting is the Misty Vale, and we're playing characters in the Dragonbane setting, trying to discover these treasures and lost artifacts. There's Call of Cthulhu, where there's a secret cult that is trying to work against the world. Obviously, the themes and ideas in any of these games can get dark and intense, but that's where you as the parent get to come in and adjudicate what is in the game and what is not, what ideas are talked about, what themes are discussed. Just because something is written in Mouse Ritter, for example, there are like little spells you can have in this game. If you're not comfortable with spell casting, you just take it out. Right? Your characters are just mice, and they have, lollipops and popsicle sticks that they're fighting rats with, and they're going on an adventure like a C.S. Lewis type of story, right? Wild Sea is a system and setting that basically is asking the question, what if the apocalypse was interesting, and maybe even more fantastic? Like, what if the world after this world was more interesting? There are some Christian ideas there, I think. Tales from the Loop is basically like, hey, what if you're playing in the Stranger Things world and you were playing a bunch of kids back in the 80s trying to fight against the artificial intelligence and robots and all this new incoming technology? You can obviously get the sense that a lot of these settings and ideas are kind of the same settings and ideas that we used to get in television shows that were very interesting to us. I remember growing up with Star Trek The Next Generation, and my grandparents used to watch it with us. And in Star Trek The Next Generation, there were a lot of episodes that asked difficult questions, and there was no clear answer given because there often isn't a clear answer to a difficult question. But you as the audience when you watch a show like Star Trek: The Next Generation, we're left with a pondering sense of like, I don't know, what's the right thing to do here? What's the moral thing to do? And I think that question, like hard question asking and the open-ended thing, it's missing from a lot of the television shows, and it's definitely missing from a lot of the video games and movies. So if you as a parent want to be engaging with your kids in some of these hard questions and moral discussions, these tabletop role-playing games are a fantastic way to engage your family, engage yourself, and oftentimes the expenditure, whether it be time and money, is a lot lower than you're going to encounter with like video games or board games or movies and TV. This Mouse Ritter starter box is either $45 or $50. Comes with pretty much everything you need to start the game. This Dragonbane starter box, it's either $40 or $50, depending on whether you get it from Amazon. And that has the entire campaign that we're going through. This will probably take us a few months to get through. And I'm probably speaking a little bit conservatively there. Players tend to wander and delve into adventures that weren't even part of the thing, and you have to kind of make some stuff up. But that's also some of the fun of it. There are obviously open-ended systems like the Easy D6. I'm pretty sure this book is under $20. This was actually sent to me by the creator. But in a game system like this, you can kind of make up your own world and setting. You can decide what you want to be playing. So if you want to be playing Star Trek: The Next Generation, like I kind of do, you can just take the ideas of Star Trek: The Next Generation and apply it to Easy D6. There are a lot of game systems that work that way. White Box is another one. This was sent to me by a friend, but I can't imagine this book would cost anything more than $20. With a book like this, you have everything you need. You know, it is a bit of dense reading, but in order to get this thing playing, you don't have to have read this whole book. You just got to get the basics of it. You can open up a bag of dice and start playing the game with your kids and allow them to take on the role of a character, a hero, a knight, an adventurer, someone going off to rescue kidnapped individuals. You know, the story and the setting is yours as the parent to build, and the world is your kids to explore. It's a fantastic hobby and just, you know, a game system. I highly recommend that you check one of these things out. If you have questions about any of these, you know, tabletop role-playing games, if you're interested, please hit me up down in the comments. Let me run upstairs real quick and show you what my son has done to his room. Obviously, I have refitted my entire streaming area to be a miniature painting location, and I'm currently in the process of building some of these War Crow miniatures. This was a box set that was sent to me by Corvus Belly, and I'm trying to go through the rules and put that together myself. But here my son is actually, he's trying to organize his room at the moment, but he's got his own miniature building station here, and this barbarian knight is what he's recently put together. He actually cut up a bunch of different miniatures and started gluing them together to make this unique figure. And it's a figure that just doesn't exist. So actually, you can see he's got like, I think, a toothpick on his back for a spear. He made a giant oar out of a couple different pieces, and then he's got like a monster's head in his hands. And anyways, it's a wonderful artistic hobby, obviously the miniature making, but in the tabletop role-playing games as well, you have the ability to kind of do a lot of different things, and a lot more than some of the board games will allow you to do. And with this hobby, it's a great way to engage your kids outside of the gameplay. As I've mentioned in other videos, a lot of times you open up a board game, by the time you are finished playing for the few hours that you play, you close up the lid on the box and your kids just don't think about it at all throughout the week. But when you create a knight, you know, or a squire or a lady in the court in Pendragon, and you take your kid through the story of what their knight does and like how they respond to the legend of King Arthur, that's going to be a story that runs through your kid's head through the week. They're going to be trying to figure out what they do next game night. And if this is a thing you can do, you know, once or twice a week, that'll be something that keeps them engaged. And, you know, again, with a lot of these, there's the potential for building a lot of intricate and interesting, you know, sets and terrain and miniatures. So this is my appeal to you. If you are a family, especially if you are a Christian family, please consider looking into some of these tabletop role-playing games. And, you know, again, please feel free to ask questions down in the comment. I don't have a lot of answers, but the community of people who have been following my channel, they do have a lot of answers. And if I don't have the answer, I'll try and find it for you. So thank you for watching. If you're still with me in this video, thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless you. Have a good week. And I hope that this video has been helpful to you in maybe helping you to consider the opportunities that would present themselves if you wanted to play these games with your kid. All right, God bless you. Bye-bye.